Knicks Nation. I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli. I'm your host, Sheer. I was excited. We got a good video, a reaction video today, so a little bit different than what we're accustomed to. But I was excited to get on and do this video. Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, was on the Roommates podcast, hosted by, obviously, I think it's Matt Hillman, Josh Hart, and our King of New York, Cuban and Brunson. And I mean, honestly, it's a great watch. But I knew it would be, if it was honest, it would be an honest opportunity to really reflect on what that process looked like. Given that it seems both sides kind of made it out pretty dope, all right? But just as expected, there were some points where both of them tried to stand on business. And clearly, there is some lingering feelings about how that breakup happened. So watch it. Enjoy, and at the end, I'll do my best to kind of summarize what my thoughts are as well. All right, all that and more here on Knicks Deli. Peace.
I think it's interesting because we have obviously a player's perspective and an owner's perspective here, but would love to just talk a little bit about Jalen's kind of free agency process and what that all was like from the owner's side, and Jalen, what that was like from the player's side.
This wasn't the setup.
I'll let Mark go first. Because
no, I'll let you go.
No, I'll let Mark go first.
No. You're the host. I'm just the guest. I get to pick.
So, me and Mark have had plenty of conversations. I don't want to say plenty. I'll say
couple,
2 to 3 maybe. So from my perspective, after we play the game,
like and subscribe, folks.
Conference finals. I remember seeing on Twitter, it was Mark did a post game interview. It was it was with our crew or whatever. Yep. And Mark was like, "Hey, we can pay him the most money." That was the main thing I saw from the thing. We can pay him the most money.
And that's fact. Yeah, that's the fact.
And so I saw that, and obviously you go into free agency, and you start seeing all these moves and that the Knicks are making and all this stuff. And then obviously my dad going to the Knicks. And so as an assistant coach. So then I'm like, all right, that's interesting. That's something that is very unique. And I just don't know how could I live with myself if I didn't at least explore that option. That's one. Okay. And so we go into free agency. Right, and then I have a meeting with the Knicks, and then after the Knicks, there's a scheduled meeting with the Mavs. Right, is everything I'm saying factual so far, Mark?
Kind of, sort of, except for the meeting part wasn't quite the way it was set up, right? Because they wanted us to come to New York, and we were like, okay, but what are we going to discuss? We need to have some reference on what we're going to be talking about if we come to New York.
Right.
And, we're like, we want to keep them, but we're not going to just show up in New York for you just to say no. Right. And, like I told you, there was a time where it was, okay, what is the number? Give us a feel. Well, can't talk to JB. He's going to a wedding. And that was pretty much the last we heard.
Let's go into the wedding.
Look at Jalen's face.
What year was this?
Oh, it was
it Josh's?
No, hell no. It was Sekou's wedding. It was
Sekou's wedding.
Yeah, it was Sekou's wedding. So that was
our lawyer.
Like
That's
I said,
ironic.
From my point of view. And so once we got the number from the Knicks, right? Once we got the number from the Knicks and everything, like I said, I'm gonna keep saying this from Jalen Brunson's point of view. I didn't hear anything else from the Mavericks, right?
My point of view.
It wasn't from the Mavericks. It was my agent saying to me, they're not giving us a number, and all that in the third. And so, yeah,
we weren't hearing back from there, right? We were like, give us a range. What's the number? We put up a number. They said too low. And then they were like, well, where do we need to be? We were hoping we'd have a home court advantage, right? He'd been here, 4 years, at least give us that opportunity. And then when it kind of came down to it and it looked like you were going to go to the Knicks, so it was like, well, really the only number that's going to make it work is a max out contract. And that was the last of it.
That's a fact.
So, and then I think Mark and I, we were on separate podcasts, Like he said some stuff, I said some stuff. All right, and then we decided to actually have a conversation together, work stuff out, and then boom, here we are. So
Here we are. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. No hard feelings, behind both of us. I don't hold grudges or anything. There's no grudge to hold, right? JB and I have always gotten along,
both
right?
petty.
I don't think, and so I'm happy for him. It didn't work out the way I thought it would. I mean, honestly,
you guys made the conference finals, so I think it worked out pretty well.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But honestly,
Look,
like
you're
I
trying to give him
remember,
credit.
we all went. Ali
You guys
was
made
in
the finals.
Utah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, the finals this year. Yeah, I mean, but I remember
It worked out great for both parties.
Yeah, I mean,
It worked out great.
But I literally remember
They're trying to smooth it out now because it's a little tense.
A bunch of us was walking back. Ali was there, and we were talking and everything. I thought, okay, we're going to figure this out, and we'll make all this happen. And so, to me, that's
Mark trying to cover his tracks. Look at Jalen's face.
That's kind of where I don't know. I thought it would work out. I honestly thought it would work out. I really
Mark is trying to repaint the narrative,
and that's okay. All's well that ends well. I'm happy for you, the King of New York, and I'm happy for us. It is what it is.
They had several times to re-sign him and extend him.
The only thing that I didn't like about the whole situation was when Mark said, when the parents got involved, that's when things got messy. So that was the one thing I was like, I kind of was like, damn, that was a little jab. But
it wasn't really. No, I didn't want to go there here, right? It wasn't.
Look,
it wasn't a jab
this is some
at all.
master and player type of stuff.
There's
This
no
is
reason
some
for us to
owner.
talk about any of that stuff. But it wasn't just a jab, JB.
You know what this is?
For real.
I know. I'm just saying. Well, that's when I heard that. That's what maybe I felt a little certain way, but I got over it. Obviously, that's my parents, and so.
And I apologize. They put you in a certain way. That wasn't the intention, but it was hard to deal with.
Look,
it was unique. It was a unique negotiation in a lot of different ways.
I would say it's the same
accustomed to dealing with young people who don't have solid experience
I would say
representation.
it's pretty similar.
In some respects, yeah. I'm sure. Well, I mean, I don't know the details, but yeah, it may well be.
Yeah. But it's over and done with.
Yep.
We're here now, and that's it.
And I'm happy. Literally, I'm happy for it. I mean, like,
Brunson still married, come on, he's salty.
We still keep in touch. I'm always sending you congrats and this and that.
Yep.
So, there's definitely no hard feelings at all. But it's always interesting when your dad and I walk by each other. It's just like he gives me the eye, I give him the eye.
You won't let it go. He never lets it go.
Right? And so, all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
Josh and I were talking. I mean,
I love it.
See the Mavs.
He's dropping 60 on the Mavericks.
Doing what he's doing, like Josh and I were actually talking about it last night. Josh was like, "Can you imagine how different JB's career would look right now if they had got a deal done?" Not to say better or worse, but just different.
Right. Just different. Sure.
And it's just crazy how things
It would
work
be
out.
worse. He would be stunted.
The only thing I wondered is how did you not get any stock
Look, they get tight
when you signed those deals and brought everybody in?
Another jab.
I'm not going to disclose any.
Look at his face.
About that. I'll keep it. I'll keep that.
That wasn't even necessary.
Close to the chest.
Mark, I am kind of segueing from that, right?
But that's a great video, great clip. So, what are some of my thoughts? First off, I'm happy that we were able to get Jalen Brunson, man. He is an organization changer. Obviously, obviously, Mark Cuban sees that, and I think both organizations made out well. But my reaction to this video is crazy. Mark Cuban knows he was in the wrong. I think early on, JB really tried to show deference and respect to Mark Cuban, as he should. Mark Cuban took a chance on him and drafted him in the second round, gave him an opportunity to grow in that organization. And Jalen Brunson just so happened to take complete advantage of an opportunity due to an injury for him to show what it is that he was capable of doing. But in the meantime, he worked his tail off as a backup in that organization. So, but Mark Cuban, during this interview, really tried to massage and rewrite the narrative, so to speak, about how things unfolded. And you could tell Jalen Brunson was listening intently, but he also was like, that's not necessarily how it went. Mark Cuban A couple of points Mark Cuban made. Mark talked about feeling as if they would have an opportunity to get a hometown discount. And you could see it on Jalen's face. He was kind of like, listen, man, you had two opportunities. You and the GM had two opportunities to wrap me up. We came to you and was like, hey, what are we doing? You know, I'm kind of playing well, you know, like what, you know, can we get this thing done? JB has said on many occasions over many interviews that he was looking forward to staying there long term in Dallas and that he was trying to sign the extension. First off, obviously for security. So he was like, he wanted to make sure he got his bread. He said, and then people was telling him, now you should hold out for more. And he didn't want to risk it. He didn't want to take that chance. So he came to the Mavericks. The last time I think he said that him and his team came to the Mavericks was in that January before that free agency run, before the second half of the season and then the summer of free agency. It was that January that he came to the GM, and the GM was like, well, we just kind of want to wait and see what happens, this, that, and the third. So when Mark Cuban talks about getting a hometown discount, at that point, when the GM said we want to wait and see what happens, that's when Daddy Brunson stepped in, was like, yo, all right, we could do that, but understand there ain't no discount. There ain't no hometown discounts after this. So Mark really tried to repaint that narrative, and you could tell. You saw it on JB's face. The second part about it was when JB brought up the point where Mark Cuban talked about making the comment, you know, all negotiations were going well until the parents got involved. What do you expect parents to do? And these aren't your normal parents. And I know I made an insinuation during the video of, yo, that is a typical owner's type of response, and particularly in the NBA. I mean, I'm not sugarcoating this one. You're not accustomed to, I mean, to be an owner of an NBA team, you definitely to be an owner of an NBA team, obviously you have to be astute, intelligent, you have to have been accomplished. But to get where you need to go at that level, you got to be cutthroat. You know, you have to have insight. And obviously, Mark Cuban is a successful billionaire. And you see his skills of negotiation on Shark Tank. So he's accustomed to having negotiation processes the way that he wants them to be. And what happened in Jalen Brunson's case was you had an NBA player who has star potential, but also has a father who has been in the NBA already, who has had representation and agents and has negotiated contracts. So that is what a lot of NBA players don't have. Mark Cuban is accustomed to working with NBA players who may not have their parents on the forefront of conversations surrounding their finances, who may, for the first time in their lives, be experiencing that level of money, be experiencing working with agents, period, thinking that agents have their best interest involved, but not necessarily realizing if those agents have previous relationships with the owner, then there's conversations that the owner and the agent can have without the player being present. And you know what they say, you know, any conversations about me that don't include me are against me. So this was something that Mark Cuban wasn't accustomed to, having someone involved as a fly on the wall to hear the conversation and to be able to tease out where smoke screens are. And that's when the father was like, all right, I see you playing hardball, so we need to play hardball too, and let you know we're serious. Since you didn't want to invest in us and take that shot and lock us up, then we're going to look out for our own best interest, because you are willing to run the risk of us getting injured and then putting us in a position where now you are in the right position to charge us less, offer us less if we get hurt, and then want a hometown discount. If I make it through healthy, I'll bowl out. You want us to re-sign for something less than the max. Nah, it's not like that. You saw he said, it got to the point where with New York's offer, only possible counter offer was a max contract. So so he tried to repaint the narrative, and I'm surprised that Jalen kind of let that go. But ultimately, that's what happened. But then Mark tried to stand on business. It was just like, no. I didn't want to do this on this platform. You didn't want to do this. So basically what you're saying was the conversations y'all had were contentious. And you wanted to come up here and do the marketing, the PR cleanup. Let's kind of show that we're friends and that things are good or whatever have you. And he said, I didn't want to go there on here. You didn't want to go there on here. But he stood on business. He was like, no, it was when your parents went through. And then you saw Jalen's, body language and all of that. It reset, So Mark was kind of like, nah, it wasn't until your parents got involved. I'm telling you, I had never experienced a negotiation like that. Yeah, that's right. When you have players who have people in their corner that have their best interest, who are not just waiting for a paycheck and a payout based on a contract, and then who is not also considering future contracts, so then they acquiesce with the owner because they know they're going to represent other players who may be able to cash out there as well. This is why it makes a difference. And he couldn't help himself. Mark Cuban could not help himself. At the end, once, I think JB ultimately was just like, all right, you know what? I ain't going to say nothing else. I said my piece. I defended my parents. I pointed out, those are my parents. Whatever you felt, however you took it, and that's so crazy. What Mark Cuban said to Jalen Brunson was, I apologize if you felt that way. Look, that's the biggest form of disrespect when somebody was just like, if somebody tells you, you disrespected me, and somebody responds to you, I apologize I apologize if you felt disrespected. They're not apologizing for what they did. They're apologizing for how you felt about what they did. So basically they said, I was right. I just apologize if you felt if you felt it was wrong. That's so, that it speaks of entitlement. It really does. And it speaks of, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. But if your little feelings were hurt, that's so crazy. And you could tell Jalen Brunson was just like, he knew he was getting patronized. That's basically what that was. And then the last piece was when he was just like, oh, but what I'm wondering is, how did you get CAA to pull off, bro, what was that even necessary? What are you doing? So it's taking an additional shot at talking about how the New York Knicks basically are using their agency, to leverage the moves. And it was just blasphemous. It was blasphemous, which is why, as Knicks fans, we are unapologetic now that we're up. Everybody's going to try coming for us. When we were down, they were talking about how such an incompetent franchise we were, and that we can't get out of our own way. We're not business savvy. The New York Knicks organization is atrocious from the top to the bottom. They need to go in there and clean everything out. They need to get rid of the owner, the leadership, the players, all of that. But when the New York Knicks start being astute, they start paying attention to detail, they start finding loopholes that benefit them, then that's when everybody got a problem. That's when they try to paint you as utilizing the system and not making deals in good faith. That's when you know you're doing things right. And that's when you get on the cusp of staying in the championship air. Because Mark Cuban really tried to pull one. But to young Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brunson is young. To young Jalen Brunson's credit, he spoke truth to power, even if his voice shook, and he stood on business. And he also didn't kowtow. He let his body language show, this is my show. I ain't going to let this spin out of control because I'm normally cool, calm, and collected, but I sense that you're about to pull me out of my energy. So I'm gonna leave this here. We're gonna let Mark and Matt and Josh put this little spin on it and try to pivot, because you see where my body language is going. And I love that. So I appreciate this clip. I appreciate them releasing it. And let me know what you think. Leave in the comments below. Am I crazy? Am I overdoing it? Am I overlooking it, overanalyzing it? What say you? Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life as applies to our team. If there's no struggle, there's no progress. But remember this, whether it's out there in the Dallas area or here in these YouTube streets, here in New York and Knicks Deli, this is where everybody eats. Peace.